Liberty Fighters Network.
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 Liberty Fighters Network. Liberty Fighters Network.
Good day, liberators and fellow South Africans. Well, the news is out. Former President Jacob Zuma is no longer a prisoner. He's freed. He's Mr. Our Honorable President Cyril Ramaphosa have come in. He's the hero of the day. He remitted the sentence of not only former President Jacob Zuma, but also about 9,000 other prisoners because of the fact that the prisons of South Africa are overcrowded. And coincidentally, there was this incident somewhere in the prison, private prison, where it was burned down by the prisoners, and they had to go to other prisons all over South Africa, and they had to make a place for them. And well, very much coincidence, but in any case, for those of you who don't know that the truth and the background of Jacob Zuma and myself, and before you come out, here's another conspiracy theory, you should know, some 8 months ago, I've revealed that that former President Jacob Zuma and Liberty Fighters Network have the relationship that we have been appointed as his formal representatives before the African Commission on Human and People's Rights to challenge specifically his imprisonment sentence on the 29th of June 2021 by the Constitutional Court, sentencing him to 50 months imprisonment for so-called contempt of court. So we said, okay, President Jacob Zuma, you had your sentence or your judgment in your matter was used 2 days later in our Supreme Court of Appeal matter on the 1st of July 2021 to basically justify the SEA finding me in contempt of court too. And so in order for me to challenge my SEA judgment, I also have to challenge your case too. So we are basically brothers in arms at that stage. And still is for all practical reasons. So we've got this link, and we said we will represent you there free of charge without expecting anything in return. We don't want the people to say that Liberty Fighters Network and Reyno De Beer, they have been bought, and again Jacob Zuma just pushing money underneath the table. For the record, and anyone is welcome to properly investigate it if they really want to. We haven't received 1 cent whatsoever for our services since January 2022, when we've started with the proceedings before the African Commission to charge Jacob Zuma 1 cent for the services. In that very same time, as many people know, millions of rand have been pushed to his illegal team to defend him in the parole matter. So eventually, it's this Buhr came to the rescue to make a pact with the Zulu Jacob Zuma to say that we will come to your assistance as far as we can without expecting anything in return from you. So let the truth comes out. Cyril Ramaphosa is not honest with the people, because if he was honest, he would have remitted the sentence, or he would have remitted the sentence way back when the problem arose on the 29th of June 2021 already. He could have stepped in then as the president, either pardoning or remitting the sentence of Mr. Jacob Zuma. But no, he did not. So his ulterior motives showed there. And people must not suddenly come out now and say, he's the hero of the day, he saved South Africa, and all these possible civil unrest that would have taken place in KZN. Well, firstly, Jacob Zuma has been blamed for the civil unrest that took place in that period. But up till today, there is no evidence whatsoever that Jacob Zuma was anyhow involved. When you study what has happened there, any person with a background of security will know and confirm that was orchestrated, planned action. And that could not have been just a let's come together and we are upset about the decision that Jacob Zuma must go to jail. That wasn't the case. There was an orchestrated go in, go out, go in, go out. many videos have been made there, but the truth has never come out. What really happened there? The media loves to blame and say that Jacob Zuma indirectly was involved for that, because of the fact that he went to prison and his followers just decided let's start to rampage and what the hell. But in any case, the truth, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, the reason why you were put in the position that you had to remit the sentence was because of the fact that the African Commission on Human and People's Rights intervened in the matter. Why do I know that? Because I was involved in that process, Mr. President. Suddenly, the decision that was diverted or put upon the National Commissioner of Correctional Services, when you read, let me just show you this so that everyone can see this. When you read this, the statement by the Commissioner, Correctional Services, on decision of National Commissioner Mr. Tobakale on incarceration term for Jacob Zuma, when you read this entire speech, you will realize that the decision did not come from him, as is projected in the media. The decision, he referred the matter to accordingly, I have therefore advised the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services of my decision. Now, what was his decision? There was no decision from him, because the fact is that the remittance decision came from Cyril Ramaphosa. So this idea that the National Commissioner was involved, no, he in fact advised, based on the representations that I have submitted on behalf of former President Jacob Zuma. He advised the President, in fact, that there's problems with the potential that I'm going to possibly decide that he must go back to jail. So that was when, because of the participation of the African Commission, saying that, well, while these procedures are pending before us, it would be totally reckless of you, South Africa, to allow Jacob Zuma to return to prison. And you cannot do that, because then you are undermining our authority in terms of international law. Thank you, DA. Thank you, DA, that you have shot yourselves in the foot. Just a week or two earlier, you've obtained a judgment in the High Court of Pretoria, demanding that South Africa must respect international law by arresting President Putin when he arrives in South Africa. Based on that, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So based on that, and I will show you all the proof in written documentation format, so I'm not sucking this out of my thumb, because I was involved in that entire process. But in any case, now, let me just go to the letter. As you can remember, before I show you, if you can remember that there was this strange event where the National Commissioner also gave an additional period until the 4th of August to submit representations. And unfortunately, at that stage in time, the Jacob Zuma Foundation was not aware of the fact that we have been assisting the former president for obvious reasons, that Jacob Zuma didn't want to mix the parole matter that he had to fight with the actual imprisonment sentence challenge at the African Commission on Human People's Rights. Hence why he split the task between his links, or in his network. So unfortunately, they have not been aware of the progress on the African Union scene. And when they made the public statements that, oh shucks, there's political play playing, technically speaking, there was political play in the sense that the African Commission on Human People's Rights intervened in this matter, which is an organ of the African Union. So let me show you this. I have, on behalf of former President Jacob Zuma, while he was still in the Russian Federation, I have submitted additional representations for him. And this was on the 2nd of August to the National Commissioner of Correctional Services and Mr. Mr. Tobakale, and there it is supplementary representations in relation to your consideration of imprisonment of former president. Now, this is an extensive document. It's consisting out of 8 pages plus attachments, annexures. I'm going to read the conclusion to you as the summary, and then you will understand what is going on here. So that's the legal matrix, and there's the conclusion. But let me first show you that this was received. The PA of the Commissioner acknowledged receipt on the 4th of August. We've also delivered it by way of the courier on the 3rd, a physical hard copy of it. PIN was entered successfully, delivered, and you will also see here that that's the collection, the contact, my details. Then delivery, it was delivered to the National Commission of Correctional Services, Pointins Building, Pretoria, delivered instructions, delivered to PA of National Commissioner, contact person, there is Tembe Kwamanda, she's the PA, there's a contact details and also a private number, cell phone number scratched out. So there you've got it that that I have submitted a representation on behalf of former President Jacob Zuma. Now, what is the content of it? And that would then say, okay, now we understand what is going on here. And I'm going to read the conclusion because this is so typical. That they are trying to make Cyril Ramaphosa the wonderful hero in this whole tale. But at the end of the day, it was actually a pact between a Boer, which I say I am, and a Zulu. So just like the Boers and the Zulus have previously in history made pacts and actually supported one another, and not as the British crown wants us to believe that we were actually racist and we were killing the poor indigenous people of South Africa. No, that was not the case. But that's a history lesson for another day. But there was a pact. Boer-Zulu De Beer came to Zulu, Mr. Jacob Zuma, and we said, okay, let's help one another. I need you, you need me, so let's do this together. And it turned out to be so extravagantly nice for the people of South Africa. So let me just show you the letter, the conclusion, so that you understand what is going on. Now, in this representation, I said, therefore, it is writer's respectful submission on behalf of Mr. Zuma that based on the authorities indicated above, you, Commissioner, as a representative of the Republic of South African State, is compelled to allow the African Commission, ACHPR stands for the African Commission on Human People's Rights, to first finalize its processes before it pertaining to the complaint lodged, which challenges the court order of direct imprisonment, which forms the basis of the consideration, and that your decision in relation to whether Mr. Zuma should or should not return to prison or to be suspended pending the finalization of such process. As you are most probably aware, Commissioner, only last week the Democratic Alliance, DA, which writer had been informed is one of the predominant entities demanding that Mr. Zuma should return to prison, has obtained a court order to the effect that the RSA should respect international law and structures established in terms of it, like the International Criminal Court ICC. In casu, in this case above, it means, and on the theme of the proverb, what is good for the goose is good for the gander, writer reasonably does not foresee that inter alia, above others, the DA would suddenly turn to be hypocritical and demand that the RSA violates the processes currently pending before the AU under the African Charter too. There the DA has shot themselves in the foot, haven't they? They cannot suddenly turn out to be hypocritical at all, because they have to respect, just like they are forcing us to accept the ICC. We are now saying, but you must be reasonable and also respect the processes of the African Union, the continent's union, which you also part of. So if you ever turn around and say, yeah, but this is a different story, then it means, DA, that you are not patriots, that you are against the people of not only South Africa, but against the African continent. Thank you very much, DA. We love you. Okay, so let me continue. So, Writer would want you to kindly take note, Commissioner, that if the RSA now, being fully aware of the pending complaint before the African Commission, decides that Mr. Zuma should be returning to prison, that the possibility is highly likely that the relationship between South Africa and the rest of the African community would be tarnished, in that South Africa would, by implication, be regarded as aligning itself more with the ICC, a Western idealistic construct, at the expense of the AU structures. The likelihood of South Africa being sanctioned by fellow African states, our very neighbors, just like it was concerned to be sanctioned by Western countries if it does not submit itself to the ICC, cannot be ruled out. Yeah, people. So that's the actual reason why Cyril Ramaphosa was forced to do the remission. It's because of the fact that the African Commission would have come out and said, but why are you telling Putin not to come to South Africa, that you're going to arrest him? But on the other hand, you want to send Jacob Zuma to jail because of our processes that's still pending. And you need to adhere to our processes also. So Cyril was put on a very, very awkward position, and he had to then do the remission as a final attempt to try and prevent this from having. And then it turned out to be to his advantage, because he is now seen as the conciliator, the mediator of the people of South Africa, and also within the ANC. But in any case, let me just conclude there, read the remainder of the letter. Writer respectfully state that it would be in the interest of justice, the Republic of South Africa and the people alike, if you, Commissioner, decides not to make a decision at present that Mr. Zuma return to prison pending the outcome of the African Commission processes. People, this is what I've showed you, that the Commissioner did not take a decision because he realized that this is the process is going on. So that is why President Cyril Ramaphosa became involved in this matter. Because it wasn't within his capabilities of making such a decision with the law before him, that Cyril Ramaphosa had to come in and say, okay, I am forced, in order to protect the status and the appearance of South Africa as this wonderful human rights state, I was compelled to do this. And so they've just painted it in a very nice way to profit him and make him to appear as the hero in this style. Well, it was actually the African Commission, specifically, who communicated with him and said, this cannot be done. Respect our processes. If you are seen to disrespect it by sending Mr. Zuma to jail, there's going to be consequences from an African perspective. So let me just finalize that letter. The advantages as a democratic republic for our own realm and fellow Africans to decline making such a decision outweighs the disadvantages by far, and Writer respectfully cannot foresee that any uncaptured court would intervene to compel you, Commissioner, to make such a decision if these AU processes have not been completed. Approaching a court to do so would be premature and bound to fail. Your gentle consideration of these representations, coupled with Writer's willingness to provide further supporting information or to meet with you, Commissioner, to discuss the content, will be highly appreciated, and your response will eagerly be awaited. The rights of our principal, Mr. Zuma, remain reserved in toto, in full. That's the actual meaning in English. Now, yeah, so that was the representation that I've sent on behalf of Mr. Zuma. And you can clearly see, now it makes sense to everyone why this, it wasn't as some of the media also wanted to portray that, it was to protect Jacob Zuma. People, when it comes to Jacob Zuma, I have 2,000 pages of proof that I have submitted to the African Union to indicate the total contrary, in contrast to what the media narrative is trying to tell us, that he is such a corrupt and criminal person. It's totally it's contrast to what they are saying. 2,000 pages, people. Now that was submitted, and let me tell you let me prove that the case is before the AU and that they have actually intervened. So let's quickly go to that spot. There's the first annexure. So there is the one on the 15th of March 2022 confirming that a complaint was submitted on the 19th of January 2022 against the Republic of South Africa. Then B, that was the one on the 4th of October 2022, indicating that that the African Union, African Commission has formally considered the reference communication and decided to be seized of it. So that is that confirmation letter. Then on the 25th of July, there was this letter. So it was just after the decision was confirmed, allegedly, that the SCA judgment stands, that the Secretariat acknowledged receipt of your letter on the 14th of July. So that was directly after that announcement was made, that the letter was sent off to tell the AU to please intervene in this matter ASAP. Please note that the Commission has taken note of the expiry of the deadline for the respondent state to submit its observations on admissibility and merits, and will proceed with the consideration of the communication in accordance with Rule 1182 of the Commission's Rules of Procedure. And then there was mentioned here that the Commission has also taken note of the information on the imminent return of the complainant to prison, but also notes that no evidence justifying urgent treatment of the case has been presented to the Commission, nor has a formal request for the granting of provisional measures in terms of rules of procedure been filed. In this respect, kindly be informed that the Commission will deal with the communication in the normal course accordance with its rules of procedure, and intends to consider it on admissibility at one of its forthcoming sessions. Now, what this last part specifically indicates is that they have seen that they don't see any reason why urgent relief have to be formally granted. There was clearly, as we know, communication between the African Commission and between Cyril Ramaphosa himself and the state of South Africa, as the representative of the state of South Africa, that this will become a very sensitive matter. And clearly, the AU was not concerned that Jacob Zuma might return to prison, because they have obviously, clearly discussed the issue and the potential threat to the African community as such, if that ever occurs. So people, that is the truth. Cyril Ramaphosa, strangely enough, notwithstanding that this process has been going on since January 2022, where a Boer and a Zulu have made a pact to assist one another, no mention of it. Not one single mention of it has been made in the media. Notwithstanding that this relationship, that this pact between us and Jacob Zuma has turned out to be so important for the people of South Africa. And just to end this, Jacob Zuma have not told me to do this. I've done this by myself. I'm going to be the one who has revealed this. It wasn't done on the instruction whatsoever of Jacob Zuma. And so he might come out and say no, he denies this or so, but I don't think so. He might be diplomatic to say, by all indication, that he will be diplomatic in terms of the assumptions or the remarks made by myself in relation to Cyril Ramaphosa and everything. But that's the person he is, and that's the person that I have become to know. Very noble, very sincere. You know where you stand with him. The whole idea of oh no, he has been stealing us our money and have been corrupt, blah 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 blah. Just take the care to find out the real facts. Don't listen if your best information is obtained from the mainstream media, then you hooked. Then I don't have any excuse for you, and you are bound to just go down this rabbit hole more and more and more, deeper and deeper. But luckily, I know for a fact that the supporters of Liberty Fighters Network, we are open-minded people. We consider all the relevant information from both sides, and we make an informed decision at the end of the day. We don't follow a narrative and come to a conclusion that Jacob Zuma is a corrupt or a criminal. As I've said, that I have submitted 2,000 pages of facts, which shows a total contrast of what the real facts are. So people, This is the story behind the release of Jacob Zuma, the real one that Cyril Ramaphosa doesn't want to tell you. If it comes out that a Boer and a Zulu has made this pact, it will obviously have a great impact on the reconciliation between the people of South Africa, which Cyril Ramaphosa specifically don't want. He is controlled by the Stellenbosch mafia, by the crown, the British crown. And so unfortunately, he will go out of his way to make this relationship, or this positive relationship that have always been there between the Boers and the Zulus. We've always respected one another. It's a matter of respect, and this is a confirmation that we can stick together. And I hope positive things will follow from this, and I hope that Cyril Ramaphosa will come out with the truth, which I doubt he will ever do, because then he will lose his heroism just before the national elections coming up next year. Godspeed until the next time.
Liberty Fighters Network.
Liberty Fighters Network.
Liberty Fighters Network.
Liberty Fighters Network.